Thinking of criminal activity, etc., if you can see where all the transactions came from and went to, is that not a paper trail for the authorities?
Bitcoin and crime is a fascinating topic because one of the things people did with Bitcoin was to set up online underground marketplaces. So the most famous of these was Silk Road, which was set up by a guy called Ross Ulbricht, who got nicked a couple of years ago. And his idea was that you could use Bitcoin for buying and selling drugs online by mail order. And criminologists are divided over whether this was a good thing or a bad thing. Most of the people doing the buying and selling seemed to be low-level drug dealers. And it seemed to diminish the amount of street criminality, the number of people carrying guns around. You know, if they could buy and sell stuff by post, you know, rather than having to meet in dark corners and be terrified that they would be shot by the counterparty. So how that basically worked was that you did a transaction in return for Bitcoin, and the operator of Silk Road, Ross Ulbricht, would keep a proportion of the money, and in fact he would keep all the money until good delivery had been signaled by the purchaser. And this really annoyed the FBI, so they tracked him down and they arrested him in a library in San Francisco, and he's now facing a very, very long period in jail. Since then, other people have set up similar enterprises. The problem with Bitcoin for this purpose is that everybody can see which transaction led to which other transaction. Now, some people have tried to set up Bitcoin laundries where you get in hundreds of Bitcoins and you put them then through a series of transactions, wash, spin, and repeat, as they're divided up into smaller Bitcoins, transacted between each other, and then amalgamated again. But since this is all public, you can write scripts that will simply parse that and identify a laundry, and then identify the inputs and the outputs. And we have had some fascinating papers at the Financial Cryptography Conference, which, for example, pointed out that the FBI didn't manage to identify all of Ross Ulbricht's Bitcoins, and they found millions of dollars of other assets that were clearly his from the pattern of transactions. Another thing that you can do is you can identify bad people because of particular bad transactions that they did. One of the things that Ulbricht was accused of was trying to arrange an assassination of a rival, and you can look in the Bitcoin blockchain and you can see the sum that was supposedly paid to the hitman. Of more concern to us nowadays is ransomware, because since Bitcoin has come along, we've seen a type of malware where your PC gets infected, it encrypts the hard disk, and it sends you a message saying, please pay us 5 Bitcoins within the next 5 days, or you can say goodbye to your data. So you then have to go to a Bitcoin exchange and buy the Bitcoins and learn how to operate them and so on, and send to these villains. And they will then send you a key with which you can decrypt your hard disk. Now, an interesting thing from our point of view is that when we look at the blockchain, it's fairly easy to spot bad transactions. So if I ask you for a ransom, I'll probably ask for 5 Bitcoin or 10 Bitcoin or whatever, depending on what I think I can shake you down for. But if I'm selling you a camera, it might be for 0.3076 Bitcoin, right? It's a long decimal fraction. And so in this way, you can easily do a triage between transactions that are probably genuine and transactions that are quite possibly suspicious.